What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so as you can tell, I'm not at the studio. I'm not in my regular spot. I'm on vacation right now, so the videos might not be as regular, if you want to say that. But let's go ahead and get into some news right quick because, Trump is doing his thing. Check this out, y'all. Trump says he's terminating legal protections for Somali migrants in Minnesota. Well, this is a good thing. And, because there's a lot of terrorists come from Somalia. There's a lot of terrorists that come from the Middle East in general. There's a lot of terrorists that come from all over the world. And Donald Trump is systematically eliminating these terrorist groups. He's already designated, I don't know how many foreign terrorist groups as foreign terrorist groups. And these people, what I find so fascinating about this is they sue the federal government because they got labeled a terrorist organization. It's like, that's interesting. Yeah, let's bring this to court, and then we can uncover all your terrorist ties. That's so fascinating to me because it's like, yeah, go ahead and out yourself as a terrorist organization, and let's go on with our daily lives here. And I'm sorry for the sun. I'm trying to find a spot that can get a good camera angle, if you will. But let's go ahead and get into the news. Check this out, y'all. President Donald Trump said Friday night that he's immediately terminating temporary legal protections for Somali migrants living in Minnesota, further targeting a program seeking to limit deportations that his administration has already repeatedly sought to weaken. Minnesota has the nation's largest Somali community. Many fled the long civil war in their East African country and were drawn to the state's welcoming social programs, right? That's where most people, or that's why most people come to this country, because all your Democrats in this country, they've got all these government handouts and they just want to give everybody everything in the freaking world. And you know what? Our budget says otherwise. We spend so many trillions of dollars on these migrants. We spend so many hundreds of billions of dollars a year on migrants. The estimates are anywhere from $350 billion to $500 billion just on migrants. Just on illegal migrants and migrants just in general. So that's a significant portion of our budget that I think if we could cut back on a lot of that, we could actually try to make some headway with the damn deficit. You know what I mean? $1.8 trillion deficit spending is just absurd, in my opinion. But let's keep going. But how many migrants would be affected by Trump's announcement that he wants to end temporary protected status could be very small. Yeah, so it doesn't matter, right? He's going, once again, systematically over and over and over, ending temporary protected status for all of these groups of people that have sought refuge in our country, right? Like, most of these people try to come into the country illegally anyway. The thing is, it's like, okay, if these people would come into the country the legal way, right, through the proper channels or whatever, that wouldn't be much of a problem. But these people are coming into the country illegally or irregular. They don't like to say that anybody is illegal. I love that argument, by the way, because we're not saying that people are illegal. We're saying that you committed a crime when you came into the country. It's ridiculous if you ask me, but let's keep going. A report produced for Congress in August put the number of Somalis covered by the program at just 705 nationwide. Right, that's another 705 gone. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Congress created the program granting temporary protective status in 1990. It was meant to prevent deportations of people to countries suffering from natural disasters, civil strife, or other dangerous conditions, right? Right, once again, that whole argument that, they're fearing for their life or whatever. Look, advocate in your country. If you're going to come to this country and then you're going to stand up for the equal protected rights of everybody, why don't you do that in your own country? Why don't you go and make your own country better? Why come to our country and make our country worse? That's what a lot of these people are doing, right? Now, I'm not saying everybody. Once again, not all, not all, not all. It's never all, never all. But a lot of these people that come in illegally, they're not seeking a better life. They're not wanting to come here to plant roots and melt into the pot or whatever. That's never been a thing for these people, right? And it's only actually in recent years that we've just allowed this to take place, allowed this to take hold, and these people are taking over. They're building enclaves where they're implementing Sharia law, for instance, like with these people, these Somalis that come in. And that's a lot of Middle Eastern. They're trying to implement Sharia law, but that's a whole nother argument, right? But anyway, that is totally antithetical to our way of life in this country. Sharia law is completely against our culture, right? We can't be having all this going on in this country. But they try to do that. They don't try to assimilate to our country. They try to bring their country here. And wait, hang on, I thought you wanted a better life. You're fleeing your country, but yet you're going to bring your way of life to this country. That doesn't make any sense, does it? And this is exactly why I say these people don't want a better life. Not at all. They come here to bring their country here, to bring us down. That's what the whole point is, right? Once again, you don't take off to another country for a better life and then immediately commit a crime upon entering that country. That doesn't make any sense. Not at all. Let's keep going though. The designation can be granted by the Homeland Security Secretary and is granted in 18-month increments. So once again, every 18 months, in other words, the president has to re-up the legal protected status, and Donald Trump essentially is just not going to do that. So it's not like he's going in and striking these people down or anything like that. He's just, yeah, we're not going to recertify their legal protected status, essentially. The president announced his decision on his social media site, suggesting that Minnesota was a hub of fraudulent money laundering activity. Well, that's also true. Somali gangs are terrorizing the people of that great state, and billions of dollars are missing. Send them back to where they came from, Trump wrote. It's over. The Minnesota chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations said Trump's decision will tear families apart. Oh, you hear that, huh? Of course. But this is the argument, but will it? That's a good question, if you ask me. Executive Director Jelani Hussein said in a statement late Friday, "This is not just bureaucratic change. It is a political attack on the Somali and Muslim community driven by Islamophobic and hateful rhetoric." And see, this is always the argument. It's always Islamophobia, right? Well, it's not necessarily that, is it? No, it's not. Donald Trump looks at the crimes that are being committed by a lot of these people, and once again, it's not all. It's never all. But you have a certain segment of people from these countries that come into this country and decide that they just want to do whatever the hell they want to do. They want to start committing crimes. They don't try to come here to actually build a better life. And this is why I always say that they don't want a better life. First off, you don't commit a crime by entering the country if you want a better life. And then secondly, you don't start committing crimes once you get into this country and pretend you wanted a better life. I'm sorry, that's just not how that works. Just not how that works at all. But these people see an opportunity that they can come into this country and disappear. That's what they want. They want to disappear and then start taking advantage of our good nature. And I'm sorry, look, I'm sick and tired of that. And I imagine you are sick and tired of that. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have clicked on the video, right? Trump promised while campaigning to win back the White House last year that his administration would deport millions of people. As part of a broader push to adopt hardline immigration policies, the Trump administration has moved to withdraw various protections that had allowed immigrants to remain in the United States and work legally. That included ending TPS, or temporary protected status, for 600,000 Venezuelans and 500,000 Haitians who were granted protection under President Joe Biden. Yeah, Joe Biden pretty much gave out TPS to everybody like candy. He didn't care, didn't vet none of these people, right? So he allowed a load of criminals to come into this country, right? And we have seen criminal alien criminality spike. In other words, that's a whole new segment of crime. Criminal alien criminality is, at least that's what I call it. Trump calls it migrant crime, but I think criminal alien criminality just rolls off the tongue so much better, don't you think? Like, it's just wild that Joe Biden, the amount of vetting, if you will, that went on under the Biden administration was almost none, folks, almost none. And as a matter of fact, they reduced a lot of the vetting for a lot of the migrant children, the unaccompanied migrants that would come into this country. They allowed some of these children to be placed with known or suspected gang members. Yeah, that's so wild. That was a story we covered back on the channel, I think last year. They released tens of thousands of children to sponsors that were gang members. It's like, okay, hang on just a second. You might think, well, why would the gang members want these children? Well, there is a very, very flourishing human smuggling operation going on in this country, and trafficking of children is very, very prevalent. You might think, well, this is the land of the free, the home of the brave. We can't be having that. And Donald Trump agrees with that. We can't be having that. So he's trying to shut all that down. And he's not doing a very good job, because for some reason, the courts are trying to stop him from doing so. And they scream human rights abuses and all this other nonsense. But that's all it is. It's just nonsense. They make every argument in the world as to why the Trump administration should stop doing what it's doing. And I find it very sickening, because to get to the root of the problem, you have to actually suss out that root of the problem and actually get rid of that problem, right? We don't look at a cancerous tumor and say, well, we can't do anything because of this reason and this reason and this reason, and these people's feelings might be hurt if we cut your cancerous tumor out. Well, that's not how that works. No, the doctors go in and aggressively cut that tumor, well, surgically, but it's an aggressive form of surgery to get that tumor out so it does not cause more cancer, right? That's the problem here, folks. If this continues to happen, it will continue to happen and will expand and grow. That's just how that works. Just how that works. If somebody can get away with doing something, they will. Absolutely. But let's keep going. The Trump administration has also sought to limit protections previously extended to migrants from Cuba and Syria, among other countries. Yeah, all these crap-hole nations, as a matter of fact. But look, the Council for American Islamic Relations recently has been named a terrorist organization. And that is who is suing Donald Trump to stop all this from happening. These organizations are responsible for a lot of clashes at protests. The Christians are getting out there and protesting a lot of this nonsense, because these Muslims that are coming into this country, like I said, they're creating these enclaves, and they are trying to implement Sharia law. They've already done this in several places, like in Texas. They've gone and sussed out places where they have Sharia courts, where, it's nothing official. This is not government sanctioned, but they have Muslims. They'll go around, and if you violate Sharia law, they'll bring you into court and they will sentence you based upon their law. Well, hang on, that's antithetical to United States laws, due process rights, and all these other rights that we have in this country that you are given from God, as a matter of fact. And, these people are just trying to ignore all that, rebuke everything about the United States, and they're doing it in our own country. And it's like, okay, are we just going to allow this to take place? And Donald Trump is trying to stomp all this nonsense out, and these people are trying to stop him. It's these people, the Council for American Islamic Relations. That makes it sound like it's some advocacy organization, but hang on just a second. They've got significant ties to Hamas. They've got significant ties to all these other terrorist organizations from the Middle East. They've funded Hamas to the tune of millions of dollars, like tens of millions of dollars. They funded Hamas. They funded other terrorist cells as well. So it's like, do we really want this organization in this country to exist? No, I think this organization, they should go after this. The federal government should label this a terrorist organization, as a matter of fact, and go ahead and stomp this out, just like they did with all the other terrorist organization designations, like what they're doing with the Venezuelan gangs. Donald Trump is aggressively attacking these drug boats that are going out there. And once again, I've talked about this. I don't like it all that much, right? I don't like the manner in which he is addressing the issue, but he's addressing the issue. At least something is happening, right? He's just launching a missile at these people and just blowing them up instead of trying to arrest them. Now, I've stated before in the past that, I wish he would at least attempt to arrest these people. But at that same time, we know what's going to happen when they attempt to stop one of these drug boats. It's going to get into a firing match, and somebody's going to die. Somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get shot. But, honestly, I would prefer that over just launching a missile. Because you never know. It might not happen. They might not fire a shot. They might just give up and walk away. You never know. But anyway, folks, I just find all this fascinating, and I'm loving what the Trump administration is doing right now, especially on the immigration front. The only problem is not doing enough. A lot of people are complaining because not enough people are being deported. You know, the Trump administration is not conservative enough for a lot of conservatives out there. And, you know, to that argument, I would say, well, Donald Trump's not a conservative. He's been a lifelong Democrat for a long time, right? And, you know, it's liberal policies like that. But at least Donald Trump is bringing some common sense. At least he is doing something about it other than opening the taps and just letting the country be flooded with criminal aliens, not knowing who any of these people are. And I think it's great, folks. I think it's really good. And that was just a quick little update to what's going on, so I figured I'd throw that out there while I'm on vacation. But once again, folks, you know, the videos, they might not come as frequently as normal, but I'm gonna try to get as many as I can out there. I am on vacation, so you guys let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment. You make sure and smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click the join button. Sign up and become a member. That's the best way to help this channel expand and grow. But without any further ado, folks, it's the end of the video. So you guys just remember that, you know, God has a plan for all of us. And you might not understand what that plan is, but I can promise you, it's there. And he loves each and every one of you out there. So you guys try to have a good day. And I can't really point to the sign that stay legitical, but stay legitical. Peace.